is meant to be a stepping stone to position or bigger things. It isn't SEVA if you need to tell others now or later that you did it. It isn't SEVA if a lack of appreciation by others or their criticism drives you away. It isn't SEVA if you believe that it is your right to do it. It isn't SEVA if you have to fight against others to do it in a certain way that suits you. It isn't SEVA if you snatch it up away from somebody else who's doing it. It isn't SEVA if you begin to believe that you're the best one to do it. It isn't SEVA if it distresses you that other people take credit for what you have done. And it isn't SEVA if years later the words arise in your consciousness, after all I did for them. Krishna says, work incessantly or act incessantly. Your duty is to work, but not to expect the fruits thereof. Here's another way of thinking about selfless service. Here's what it might be. Maybe selfless service is how God does her work in the world through you. Remember the opening song? Use me, O God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands. What must they do? Command my life. It's here for you. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you, the opening lines of a letter from one of our community members that I have never let go of since the day I received it. To say thank you to all of those who have literally and figuratively held the door of this center open for me. I came here about 20 years ago when it was the little church on Orchard Street, and I was at a particularly challenging time in my life. When things got better for me, I stopped coming. But I always came back during the difficult times in my life, and the door was always open, and someone was there to greet me with a smile. People made fabulous music for me over the years, and there was always a lovely environment with flowers, and there was always a minister with words of inspiration, and someone to serve me a cup of coffee after the service, or to pray with me when I put in a prayer request. I'm sorry to admit that I did not put a lot of thought into how this all came together. And apart from helping out in the youth church when my son was there, and making a token contribution to the offering each week, I did not feel moved to do anything to guarantee its continuity. I took the church very much for granted, assuming that it would always be there, and indeed it was, like a lifeline during life's most challenging times. Things changed for me about 3 years ago when I realized that I really wanted to be part of a community. And I knew that in order to do that I needed to become involved in the activities of the center. So I took the classes, and I was particularly struck by the lesson on giving. And for the first time, my giving became something other than a token. The major milestone came for me in May of 1998 when I became a member of the center, and I realized that now it was my turn to hold the door open literally and figuratively. Now I serve you coffee after service, and I do my part to pay the bills each month. For me, the move to ownership of our own building has been a wonderful opportunity for me to give both of my time and my treasure. And I am richly rewarded and blessed with a feeling of belonging that I have never known before. Recently I heard someone say that it had been suggested to him that he give not because others need to receive, but because he needed to give. I have been giving this some thought and came to the conclusion that it is Spirit's nature to give, and I am having fun thinking of creative ways to express my giving nature. I make it my joy to spread seeds of love and kindness every day, And I make it my business to pay my monthly tithe at the center as surely as I pay my utilities and telephone bills. And I am in loving appreciation for all of those, living and deceased, who have contributed to my spiritual growth and the realization of myself. You can't hope for a better PR piece than that. You know what it reminds me of also? It reminds me that there are times when you and I, all we can do is show up and we can't serve. All we can do is show up and receive because that's all we've got. And that's good too. That's very good. Because who will we serve if we don't take turns? Sometimes we just have to show up and feel the support. And then eventually, over time, we refuel. We fill up the tanks. And then that's where service steps in as a way to give back what we have received, not because it is required, but because it is natural. It's a way of circulating the good, keeping it going. It's the way of expressing who you truly are. It's a way of holding up the future by serving up the present. And one of the reasons why service is recommended as a part of a well-rounded spiritual practice is because it has unintended side effects. You know, you get into it all high-minded to serve, do Spirit's work in the world, use me, what must my hands do? And then the side effect is that you get to know other people. And then as a result, it creates this experience we call community. And then other people get to know you in your beautiful, open-hearted way. And then when we know each other, it's easier for us to love each other. It becomes easier then for us to know when somebody is hurting and where support is needed, when a child is born or when somebody is passing, because we know each other. I have been thinking about the qualities of those people who engage in selfless service, and I think there are elements that I aspire to that they have. People who serve frequently know how to listen. People who serve are often forgiving. People who serve have a sense of resiliency that doesn't come from anything around them. Often they measure themselves and know their value from intangible things. And people who serve often give more space than what they take. Here are some pointers. Number 1, be yourself. It's all you've got. Of course, however, you've got to take the time to know what that self is. Because if you come into service all unexplored, unexamined, you don't know who you are, you stand the chance of laying a trip on other people because you've got an agenda and a mission. Number 2, remain unattached to the outcome because you can't control it. But also because the people we serve may be hurting so badly that they can't acknowledge our service. It's just not available for them. And that can be hard if you are a person who is on a mission to improve other people's lives. Or if you think your good work should be acknowledged and make a difference in the world, it might not. Service is on the other side of all of that. Service is standing in the flow and being an agent of divine circulation. The consciousness of service asks, how can I serve today, sweet Spirit? Where you lead, I will follow. I invite you to breathe in with me and exhale into a moment of quiet as we enter into an atmosphere of prayer. There is a joy in waking up again to this awareness of our unity, to the privilege of living and breathing, to the privilege of being able to inquire within, and to the amazing awareness that we are a part of a life that is seamlessly integrated